The mind is here to serve the soul.
Right.
The mind is here to serve. That's
Right.
why it always is looking for something to serve. And if we don't direct it appropriately, it starts serving itself. It
Right.
starts serving the story. It starts serving my history and my victimization and the things that I've been through, and it keeps
The limited
them
identities.
important, and we keep defending our smallness, and
Right.
over and over. And it's like it's awesome. It's just wrong use of an amazing tool, of an amazing gift that we have created.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings. This is Michael Beckwith welcoming you to the Take Back Your Mind podcast, where we're seeking to have our minds no longer hijacked by fear and worry and separation and polarization, but be pulled into a level of coherence around capital L reality, the presence that is never an absence. In just a moment, I'm going to be in wonderful conversation with my friend Sue Morter. She's the author of Energy Codes, but she's also an individual that had an authentic spiritual awakening. She vibrates extremely high. In another moment, we're going to open up with the life question of the week. People are writing in. They want questions to be answered. I get to do my best in answering them. If you have a question, please email podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. Use your first name, where you are from, and perhaps you will be chosen. Have a bright day. Our life question of the week. It comes from Kathy from Washington State, who asks, I've been practicing affirmative prayer and meditation for several years, and have been doing it daily for several months. But I don't feel like anything is happening. I'm not feeling the presence or hearing or getting any insights. How long does it take to feel the presence, and what is that like? Let me say two things. One, I've been practicing affirmative prayer and meditation for years, but daily for several months. So it means that for several years, there's been a kind of a hit and miss to it. But over the last several months, you've actually been consistent in your meditation and prayer practice. That's good. There's something called Kensho, and there's something called Satori. Kensho means there's a slow burn or a slow releasing of hindrances, obstacles, distractions that keep us from feeling and seeing the presence. And when I say feeling and seeing the presence, I don't mean with our sensorium. I don't mean with our eyes and ears. Oftentimes people try to strain to see something or to hear something with the ears. That's not what we're doing. We end up catching insight and revelation. We end up seeing with our consciousness, with our awareness. Something dawns upon us. So most people, that's what's happening. You have a daily practice of prayer and meditation. And then what happens is, particularly if you keep a journal, you can look back over a year or 6 months or 3 months, and you actually see that the person that began that journal doesn't exist anymore. There's actually been some change. It didn't come with a thunderbolt, a lightning bolt. It didn't come with flashes of all manner of phenomena. It's just a slow transformation. That's how it happens. So it might appear to the ego, oh, I'm not hearing anything, I'm not feeling anything, there's nothing going on. But if you examine yourself over this period of time that you've had a daily practice, you'll actually see that transformation has and is occurring. That's Kensho. Satori is a moment we have a flash of insight, an aha moment. Suddenly, you have a realization that you were sleepwalking, but you have a deep sense of awakening. That does happen. It doesn't happen all the time. And I don't want you or anyone else to tie your happiness to Satori moments. that happens under the vibration of grace. And when it does happen, it's beautiful. It changes your life. It changes the trajectory of your life. You have a testimony to share. But you're not trying to become addicted to highs. You're trying to become consistent with practice that literally changes your life. I hope this is helpful. Have a beautiful day. Peace and richest blessings to all of you. So I welcome you to Take Back Your Mind. I have with me today Dr. Sue Morter.
Hey.
And obviously she's the author of The Energy Codes. You may have heard about that book. If not, you will. And then you will go right out and not only purchase it, but you'll read it and practice the principles and the exercises in the book. But let me just tell you a little bit about her in case you don't know who she is. International speaker, master of bioenergetic theory, and quantum field visionary. She's a quantum field visionary. Through her seminars, retreats, and presentations, she illuminates the relationship between quantum science and energy medicine, elevating human consciousness into life mastery. Among her many accomplishments, she founded the Morter Institute, in 1987. Founder and visionary of the Morter Institute for Bioenergetics, an organization committed to teaching individuals self-healing techniques with an inner wisdom approach based on quantum science and higher consciousness. You see where we're going with this, right? She served on professional licensing boards providing guidance to healthcare practitioners on integrative approaches to healthcare leadership, adjunct faculty on 2 medical schools at Michigan State University. She's been in USA Today, LA Times, Amazon #1 best-selling author of Energy Codes, a 7-step system to awaken your spirit, heal your body, and live your best life. She's been a guest speaker at Agape, the Revelation Conference. I kind of encourage my practitioners here to follow her teachings and to many of them to go get licensed by what she teaches here as an extension of the work they're already doing. And many years ago, we met at, what was it, leadership conference? Leadership?
Yeah,
what's it called?
Transformational Leadership Council.
Yeah, and it was instant recognition of soul to soul. We knew each other from before. And so the relationship is a soul connection. Sue, welcome to Take Back Your Mind.
It's so good to be with you again.
Always.
And it's been some distance in the COVID years. And
Right.
Here,
This is our first time since COVID.
I know. It's like, oh,
let me touch you.
You're still there. Yes. So wonderful. And I look forward to exploring whatever directions we go today.
Absolutely.
It's just such a joy.
It's always great. And let the folks know, how did Sue become Sue? I mean, what was your background growing up, and what insights and revelations did you have?
So I grew up in an environment where it was natural health care, and energy medicine was the only health care that I had. And it was really a relationship with nature and spirit and the body's ability to self-heal and self-regulate. And I've never gone to the doctor and gotten an antibiotic to heal something. It has always been a self-nurturing and rejuvenative process that I grew up knowing. So dinner table conversation was about quantum science long before it was here
popular.
Popular. And it was all about we create our reality, and we can step into whatever it is that we choose to step into, and are constantly shedding old patterns and things along this line in an attempt to really conserve the energy and to keep it available to utilize in the way that it is intended to be utilized. And then I went to school, opened a clinic, was helping patients learn these same principles, and I also always knew that there was even more to what we were doing here and what I was supposed to acclimate myself to. And so I started meditating. I was drawn to it, just kind of pulled into it, and I instantly started having transcendental experiences, just multidimensional, otherworldly experiences that were just, blowing my circuits, blowing my mind.
Right.
And I began to recognize that this was our true state, and that we're operating here on the planet kind of in a trance in general, forgetting who and what we really are. And so I began teaching this to my patients. They started becoming more responsive to the care that I was giving them. They were getting better faster, staying better longer. It just became an entire transition of focus from thinking that the outside world has an effect on us to realizing that we are the creator of our entire life experience.
What did you actually shift in your practice? What did you do or say to them?
Yeah, I started bringing their attention to the energies that were moving through their body. I was working with them with energy medicine practices even before the words energy and medicine would have ever been used together.
Right.
And what I started doing was having them recognize that there was a flow of energy that was happening through their system, and if they could become aware of it as it was happening, they could become more masterful at encouraging it or enhancing it or rerouting it as I was working with them. And a byproduct of that is they did begin to sense and feel this essence of life that is here and palpable and available to us, and it actually is the real us. It's the true self. So in short, we don't have energy traversing through us. We are the energy that is traversing through this system. We are spirit. You know, the scientific world would call it the quantum field. The spiritual world would call it spirit.
Right.
It's all invisible energy, and it's the same thing.
Right.
And, you know, we've just been separated by this common language of calling this presence two different things, you know, causing us to believe that we're either in touch with it or we're not, and we're either scientific or we're spiritual, and the fact is everything is energy.
Everything is energy, everything is spirit.
Everything is spirit.
So the words through and as, it's through us, but it is us.
As that.
As
yes.
that, yeah. So I know you shared with me before, and you shared with many people, that you actually had another transcendent experience when you were meditating at some point that really allowed you to see 365
Totally.
in a very powerful way that also like jettisoned you to a whole nother level of awareness.
It completely changed my life. And I was lifted into a state of consciousness that was a light so brilliantly bright. It was 10 times brighter than the brightest day in the desert I had ever seen. And yet I didn't want to shield myself from it. I was completely absorbed into it. And I could see in every direction, above, below, in front, behind, the same. I could see the earth beneath me about the size of a marble, and I was embedded into it up to what would have been my knees. And there was just this beautiful horizon, a pink iridescent blanket of what I learned, recognized as love, that this light that we are is compressing itself into love and projecting itself into this dimension. And the degree to which we allow ourselves to remain open to that really determines the amount of love that has the ability to heal. As the universal solvent that it is, it can transmute anything if we're willing to allow it to be connected with the ideas and the thoughts and the beliefs and the experiences that we're having that our mind is judging as something other than love. If we're willing to allow those two to unite, there's a healing presence that happens in our body on an ongoing basis. It's rejuvenative. It makes us younger. It makes us more flexible and pliable and strong instead of old and rigid and decrepit. And it's been an amazing thing that I've been able to share with patients and now clients and people all over the world. We have people in 95 countries, you know, around the world doing this work and reporting back about the transformational healings that are happening on mental, emotional, and physical levels in their lives.
What I appreciate about the work is you. It's like you're an example of that energy. You know, you carry the energy field. It's like a lot of people understand the theory of it. Some people are academicians. You know, they know about it. But they don't necessarily know it. You know, so when I met you years ago, and you said something, and I saw you. It was like, she knows. You know,
I remember the moment.
I remember.
And I was like, he knows that I know. This is good.
Yeah, this is good.
That means he knows.
I mean, because I could listen to people speak, and I said, yeah, that's a good talk. He knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't really know it yet.
Talking about it.
And
not from it.
Right. So you have this ability when you're doing work on people, your energy field itself is healing. You know, it's not personal; it's transpersonal, but it's moving through and as you. So I've always appreciated that about you, and I tell that about you when I talk about you. I say, "Oh, Sue, you know, she's the real deal. She can just sit there and be silent, and it's still affecting the room because of where she's been and what she's integrated. I think integration is a good word here.
Yeah, it's embodiment.
Yeah.
That's the key. And in terms of this huge transcendental experience that I was having, and then they kept rolling one after another, where past lives and multiple dimensions were coming into my awareness, and it was kind of blowing my mind. And all the while, I knew it was completely appropriate, and I'd done it
completely
1,000
appropriate.
times.
That's what,
It's
completely appropriate.
I can deal
funny.
with this. I can allow this to happen because it's really great, and but yet it wasn't.
And this was drug free,
right? It was drug free, and continues to be. And so it started allowing me to have these awarenesses, but it wasn't until I recognized that I had to get in my body with these expanded experiences that my body started to heal and change. I had a scoliosis. I was born with a scoliosis. I was born with a sacralization of my L5 lumbar. I had migraine headaches all the time. And as I started learning how to bring these expanded states back home, back here, then my body started changing. I started waking up in the middle of the night. My body would be in all these yoga poses, and I wasn't a yogi at the time. I was a meditator, and I was, what is going on? And I recognized that the yoga, as we know it, was taught by people who were awake, because the awakened states resonate at higher geometrical frequencies, higher states of consciousness. And when we put the body in these certain yoga positions or asanas, it causes the energy to run through the body in a way that is tapping those higher vibrational frequencies. And so by putting someone in the poses, it sets them up to be able to run this energy through their system to help wake up. So I developed a whole system of yoga called Body Awake Yoga that is anchoring the consciousness in the core of the body, because it was when I came into the body with this awareness of these higher realms that my scoliosis healed, my migraine headaches went away. I became, empowered with energy that is just never ending. It is just a constant flow of juice that's going through my system that is meant to be. It's like I don't use my own energy.
Right.
It's not personal.
Right.
It's cosmic.
Right.
That is coming through and being translated into this physical expression. And by learning how to allow ourselves to have that happen with us, we each heal on many different levels in our lives. Of old pattern, instead of going after limiting beliefs, and trying to reframe them only, we're really animating the one who's not subject to the beliefs. The soulful presence, the spirit, isn't.
Repeat that.
Isn't subject to the beliefs. Like if we're living attached to the mind, and we think that's who we are very subject to the beliefs that it carries.
That's right. That's the programming.
Yes.
That's the beliefs,
Yes.
limiting and otherwise.
And so
Absolutely.
the answer I found was to peel myself off of the mind and let the mind serve me instead of me serving the mind.
There you go.
And as that happened, as that began to happen, I began to recognize that my energy is best spent if I move forward into my creatorship rather than looking for the problems that I carry to solve and then solving them. Because then at the end of the day, I'm just good at solving problems.
Right.
So I have to create more problems to solve in order to know who I am under those conditions. So I don't want to do
and
that.
those problems, the word problem comes from the word emblem. So those problems are emblematic of thoughts, opinions, beliefs, points of view that have condensed themselves.
Right.
So there aren't any
Into a
problems
thing.
in the cosmos.
Right.
Those are just condensed thoughts and beliefs. So we don't solve a problem. Problems actually dissolve in a higher state.
Right. We see that they are not.
They're not there. They're not
they
real.
do not exist.
Yeah. The other thing, I appreciate what you said. Over the years, I've said, we're not here to be ascended masters. We're here to be descended masters.
Right.
We're here to bring it here to the body.
Yes.
And when I heard you speaking at one point, I said, oh, yeah, she got it.
She's that. That was it. That was actually the first revelation that I came to speak at. It was about the descended masters was the topic of the revelations that year. And it was just like, ooh, this is juicy stuff, because this is what people have to recognize, that we want to transcend the mind, but it is only to recognize the bigness of our being And as I said, then to realize I have a mind. I am not the mind. I have a mind. I created a mind to serve me, to magnify me, to focus me, to point me and direct, to carry me out, to carry me out into this world. The body and the mind were two aspects of a vehicle that I generated in order to come in, compress myself into this physical dimension to bring myself here as part of the expansion of consciousness into the third dimension, elevating our consciousness.
Heaven.
Here. Earth.
To earth.
Yes. Yes.
Same thing.
Right. I call it heaven earth instead of heaven on earth.
Right.
It's like, there's only one thing going on
It's only
here.
one thing. Yeah, you can't be two things. It's only one thing.
Yeah.
So now we have this book, Energetic Codes, and you have what is it? 7 steps? 7.
Yeah, it's steps, but you don't have to do them sequentially. There's 7 items that we take a look at that we work with in ways to unattach from the mind instead of like living with this, get it off of us.
And then what you look like. Remember the alien? Remember the alien?
I know. I think of it every time, but it's like on me. Get this thing off of me, and realize that the mind. This is the mind. Yeah. Is controlling me until I get separated from it and then immerse with it, re-engage and integrate it in a different role. Right. The mind is here to serve the soul. Right. The mind is here to serve. That's why it always is looking for something to serve. And if we don't direct it appropriately, it starts serving itself. It starts serving the story. It starts serving my history and my victimization and the things that I've been through, and it keeps them important, and we keep defending our smallness, and over and over, and it's like it's awesome. It's just wrong use of an amazing tool, of an amazing gift that we have created. Right. So it's about you speak about taking back the mind. It's like I'm going to get you in the right role, and then I'm going to put you right here so that you can serve something greater than yourself.
It can become an avenue of awareness, rather than just a set of program that keeps repeating itself.
Yes, exactly. And so what we're doing in the energy codes is teaching people this concept, because it's a big thing for a lot of people to wrap their mind around the fact that I'm not my mind, that I have a mind, and I need to start talking about my mind instead of talking from my mind. Yes. And as I do that, I'm now in relationship with it, and then to re-engage and re-immerse it back into my whole system, just have it sit on a different seat in the bus, not in the driver's seat, but in the co-pilot seat. That it's here to take the soul where the soul wants to go. Right. And it's here to me as pure spirit that is expressing as a soulful expression here in this life at this time. I'm here to train my mind to just be in service to that. Just be in service to that. Just stay on the self. Don't get over there on
Give it
objects.
Something good to do.
Yes.
So that the spirit can do its work.
Yes, so it doesn't interfere.
Yeah.
And so the steps in the system of the energy codes is about teaching people about that principle and then teaching them how to start unidentifying as the mind, to start identifying as the essential soulful spirit being that has a mind, and then really learning how to begin using this body to help the mind serve the soul. It's like the soul speaks to the body, and the body would speak to the mind, but the mind doesn't listen. The mind's off writing stories and doing all kinds of other things that are more important, but if it pays attention to those gut feelings and those nuances and that clamped down throat and the tightness in your chest or the rigidity in your body, if the mind starts to notice that in an adventurous inquiry, rather than judging it, like, oh, I got this bad back, and it's always been bad. Rather than doing that, just really listen. There's a body speak. There's a somatic language that's coming, through. And the soulful self is this energy, this essence is trying to express everywhere through the whole body.
Yes.
So if there's an area of the body that isn't working right, it's because we're not living in there. Yeah. We're not awake in that area. Yeah. And so it becomes rigid, and it becomes decrepit, and it becomes calcified, or it becomes, weakened or overexpressing, trying to make up for something. And so I'm teaching people, there's a language to it, there's a system to it, that when you start to direct your mind's attention onto the body, first of all, you drop the frequency of the mind into more of an alpha frequency, more of a state of resonance and coherence with nature, and then the language of the soul is able to be heard, and the truth is able to rise and to surface and to be infused into our decisions and our actions and our interpretations of life. And as that is happening, we start to notice wow, there are areas of me that get charged when I'm in a situation that I'm uncomfortable with. Instead of me just getting upset, instead of asking, why do you do this thing that is so upsetting to me? Why would you stop doing that? And then I'd be okay. Instead of, playing that victimized, externalized role, if we just ask, where in my body am I activated when this situation is occurring?
Yeah.
Then it starts to teach my mind where aspects of me have been isolated or shut down over time. So if I get a lump in my throat when somebody says something, or I get a tightness in my chest, or I get a knot in my stomach, it means something different. Each of those things means something different specifically. So I'm teaching about that in the book. Like, it means this if it's here. It means this if it's here. If it's a matter of you expressing yourself freely, or manifesting, or having the power to really come forward in an integrated fashion, it's going to affect you here. If there are circuits that are out of sorts, or shut down, or disconnected, and you get tightness in your chest, then the power of love and the power of the true unconditionality of life is not active in your life. It's not as alive and well in your life as it could be. And it needs to be. And then if it's giving you this knot in the gut, it's about you not accessing and honoring the wisdom that is rising up through you all the time. And there are many, many other aspects to it. And then once somebody identifies it, what I'm teaching them next is how to do something about it. How to build the electromagnetic circuitry in the system that allows this essence, this quantum energy to flow, and then establish neurocircuitry that becomes responsive to new communication that's happening now in the body because I'm directing it. So we're literally carving a pathway through an area that's been being circumvented because I had a bad experience with that in the past, so I'm not going back there. Or, I had a parent that was abusive or abandoning in some way, and so I shut down here, or I never developed in this way. So I've spent my life trying to find compensatory ways of dealing and getting by. And it works right up until it doesn't, right?
So at that moment, when a person's going through whatever, if they bring their attention, instead of going into the narrative or trying to self-medicate themselves out of it, they actually just go into it.
Yes.
Just be with that, and not label it. I try to tell people, don't label
it. Name it.
Don't let the medical doctor or anybody label anything. Just be with the sensation. Just be what's there. Just being with it itself begins to transmute it.
Yes,
just in that moment.
We are the great transmuter, and if we can be with it in a loving way, meaning a presence with it, just
no judgment,
to truly be interested in it, be curious, and know that it's informative in some way, and it's trying to help me in some way. And what I'm teaching people in the book and in the coursework that I teach is really showing them how to zero in on it specifically and anchor themselves in the body so that they can become present with something, the very energetic vibrations that have ricocheted them off all of their lives. All their lives they've been avoiding this one feeling or these few feelings. They do anything to avoid feeling that feeling. They even become, dysfunctional in relationships or addicted to things simply as an attempt to avoid feeling this particular energy, when all the while, if you just would, it would actually set you free.
Right.
It's
Just be
not
with
going to
it.
kill you. It's actually going to elevate you. It's not going to kill you, even though we think it will. We think it will. We have it associated.
It's going to kill something.
Devastating, and right.
The limit itself.
It'll kill the ego. Right. That's the point, and
that's
it's good to know that that's the only part of it that's ever going to die.
Right.
Is the false self.
So take us through the 7. I know you covered it like this.
Yeah.
But take us to for people who want a linear understanding of the 7.
Oh, okay. The 7 steps.
Yeah.
Well, there are codes, and so there's an anchoring code that teaches people how to come into the body, to really land in the deep core body instead of floating in the head and out around the body like most people live. Most people live from here up and out, and so we're teaching people how to anchor and come into this deep core presence. And there is a wisdom aspect to that we begin tapping our own creativity in a second code that allows us to really sense and feel, wow, once I'm landed in my body, I can actually start to feel there's a real presence here. So I'm teaching people how to do that. There is something here that I miss when I'm living in my head or analyzing or predicting or doing all the things that I do with my mind all the time, that analytical mind. And as I get into that observer mind and I get into the body with it, I start to tap into this wisdom. And then I'm teaching with a clearing code, a way for people to repattern neurocircuitry that has gotten established in a survival-based orientation. When we've been up against things in our past, we developed ways of dealing with things. And
coping mechanisms?
Yes, we've developed coping mechanisms. We've developed compensatory pathways, avoidance behaviors, the healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms. So they're all limiting us in terms of, there are some healthy coping mechanisms, but the more we utilize them only, we are still coping.
Right.
And we're designed for more than coping.
Right.
We're creators here. And so it shuts down our artistry and our ability to tap our creative genius and to really be innovative in our lives rather than just finding the best way to deal with my bad circumstances. And so there's a whole chapter and area, section of the book that is teaching people how to clear these old patterns so that we're available to allow this rush of truth to come through us without it being distorted and interrupted and interfered with. And so this one is beautiful for so many people. They start feeling results immediately when they start working with it in that way. So it's a technique that stimulates the various brain parts, the right brain and the left brain and the corpus callosum and the cerebellum that houses all this subconscious memory and all sorts of writing reflex aspects, and the amygdala and hippocampus and the right side of the body and the left and the upper and lower. It's just all brought together at once.
This was all happening at your breakfast table.
Yeah, that was just kind of before breakfast got served, having juice. Right? And so, it's not complicated. I'm just sharing all the aspects of our whole system that get involved. It's super user-friendly. I mean, it had to be, right? For it to have an impact for humanity. And so then there's a heart code that really teaches us about what a greater love really is, what this unconditionality really has in store for us to live from. And we have, there's a chemistry code that teaches people how to find the right chemical balance in the body based on our thoughts and the foods that we eat and don't eat to allow for harmonizing of the tissues, because the body heals and rejuvenates and replenishes in an alkaline environment. And the more anger and fear and frustration and hurt that we suppress, the more acidic we become, no matter how much alkalizing fruits and vegetables we eat or supplementation that we take. We can outdo it in an instant if we have, 2 good minutes of a strong angst or anger. When we hit that, that's it, right? So there is those kinds of things that we are working with. We're working with the transcendental aspects of meditation and really teaching people how to begin and how to build upon that in an incremental way. And the spirit code is about really learning that we are spirit. We are spirit. We're not the mind that has a spirit. We're not the mind that has a soul and a body. We are spirit that has a body and a mind. And we are expressing as the soulful self while we're here. So the soul is kind of reflecting how we're doing at allowing pure spirit to be expressed without being distorted, without being interrupted or withheld.
So where should these people, I don't want to use the word should, but where can they start right now based on our conversation? Where would you say they would start to embody?
Start to embody. One of the first things that I always recommend for people is, to just start something as simple as belly breathing instead of breathing in the upper lobes of the lungs. The lower lobes of the lungs are animated and activated with more nerve endings that are part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is designed to calm you down. And there are more blood vessels in the lower lobes of the lungs, so you're oxygenating your blood more readily if you're belly breathing. If you breathe in the chest first, it activates fight or flight, take action, let's go. And that's good if you've already activated deep core wisdom and in your deep soulful self, and you've set the subconscious free by recognizing that all is well, that we are safe in this moment. Then to put yourself in action. So belly and then chest, and belly and then chest, and belly and then chest is how we should be breathing. Toddlers, infants are breathing this way, and until they get out in the world and they get splatted and realize, I got to survive. And so belly breathing is a beautiful thing for people to do. And then I start teaching them how to draw themselves down into their body instead of just living in their heads. So kind of drawing your shoulders back and down and drawing the shoulder blades together and dropping them down, sliding them down the back of your spine, kind of just keeps the heart space open. And there are some practices that I do by teaching people how to anchor themselves at the base of the spine. And then I do this central channel breathing, which is a very interesting thing for people, because they realize that I'm not limited to just breathing through my nose. It's by believing that that's the only version of me, I limit myself to being this 5 sensory being that is, stimulus response. And we are so much more than this physical body. We are this ascension, descension capacity. We are this whole system of energies. And so I have them central channel breathe, which is taking a breath from above your head, right down through the center of your brain, as if you're breathing through the soft spot, breathing through your throat, breathing through the chest, but all the way drawing it down to the belly. And by doing that, it starts to call those higher frequencies into the body, and then I have them do a practice that takes a couple more minutes to describe, but it's this anchoring at the base of the spine, and then I have them exhale right down into the earth.
Have them do it. Do it with them right now.
So this exercise at the base of the spine is something that's called Mulabanda, and it's an ancient Eastern term that is referencing root lock. So what it means is it's pulling us down into our rootedness and locking us there, like holding it there. It's a bond. It's binding us there so that we don't flip up back here into our head and just use these energies, because there is so much value in the body, in each of the energy centers that represent layers of consciousness that comprise our wholeness, that if we only live in our head, we never get to utilize all these other aspects of our wholeness, aspects of our consciousness never get tapped. So we're not coming from a place of wisdom and personal power and a groundedness in the fact that we're made of everything that is. And so this Mulabanda is, ladies, it's kind of like a Kegel exercise. Gentlemen, you're about to learn what a Kegel exercise is all about. So it's kind of like, squeezing the muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl. Like if you were going to the bathroom and you had to stop the stream instantly, you had to stop it, you would contract certain muscles to do that. So those muscles are in the base of the perineum. And by contracting those muscles, it literally starts to bring energy to that area at the base of the spine. And when we bring energy there, it literally is pulling it from this fight or flight defense physiology and the idea of being caught in sympathetic dominance, where we're strategizing and thinking all the time. And it brings us down into a place where wisdom resides, and our true foundation of our being, and which happens to be love. And so here we are contracting these muscles, then just release them, then contract them again, just so you kind of get used to contracting these muscles on command. And people at first are like, I can't do that, I can't even find, what are you talking about? So I then recommend that you would contract pull your navel back to your spine, contract your gluteal muscles, like what you're sitting on in this moment, and then contract those muscles that you would contract if you were stopping the stream instantly. Just contract all that. Just give it a squeeze, just from here down. Just give it all a squeeze. And then release it. And then squeeze it again. And then release it. And squeeze it again. And release it. And just do that several times a day until it becomes natural for you to be able to squeeze those muscles. Because if you squeeze them with everything you've got, and then you relax it kind of by 1/2, that's kind of the amount of tension that we would like there. Now, if you can release the gluteal muscles, but keep those perineal muscles contracted, the ones that you would squeeze to stop the stream instantly, keep those contracted, but relax the belly and the gluteal muscles. But keep something deeper into the center of the tree, if you will, those rungs of the tree, all the way at the core of your body. And you keep that squeezed. And you will be amazed. Like, if you do that when you're driving down the road and you're thinking about that conversation that happened at work yesterday or at home this morning or whatever, and you're like, oh, then your knuckles are white and you're not enjoying it, you squeeze this Mulabanda and watch what happens. You will not be able to get as upset as you were just a minute ago. So be warned, if you're addicted to getting upset and addicted to the drugs that, infuse the system, the adrenaline to get that good hit that happens, it's not going to happen for you anymore, but you're actually going to start enjoying being able to unpack these situations that have had a hold of you for so long. So with that Mulabanda constricted, then the next thing that I do is just teach people, okay, breathe up from underneath where you're sitting, just in the earth, just envision it, just as if you're breathing up through this tube right into the pelvic bowl, just into the belly. Big belly breath. And then you're going to exhale right up through the heart and through the throat, through the center of the brain, and just shoot it out the top of your head. And then you're going to inhale from above your head and bring it right back down through the same path. Center of the brain, throat, chest, all the way to the belly. Then squeeze that Mulabanda, squeeze it, and then exhale, keep it squeezed, and shoot your breath right down into the earth. And then inhale up from the earth, right into the belly. And then exhale, shoot that right up through the heart, through the throat, through the center of the brain, roll your eyes up even, shoot it right out the top of your head. So that's a central channel breath. And here's what will happen. You start breathing like that, your mind is going to be focusing on doing that, and it's going to bring you into the body. And what you're going to experience is a greater version of the true soulful presence. This I am presence is going to find its way into the physical version of you, the physical end of the spectrum. And what happens as a byproduct of that is you will start to feel illuminated, but you're not going to get spacey because you're in the body. What happens when people do breath work, and I do all sorts of holotropic breath work and brain balancing breath work and pranayama practices for people, but I'm emphasizing you stay in this channel because this channel is how this energy descends to the earth, rises up, cycles back around. There's some images of this in the book. It cycles around and around, but the central channel is what for thousands of years has been taught as this is where it's at. This is where the life force is. This is where the river of life is. And you have to get yourself back in here on this river, as this river, if you ever really want to be masterful in this life. You have to be coming from that place, not coming from the head, not coming from the mind field, but coming from an embodied version of that, because it's grounded, it's integrated, and you get to utilize your wisdom, your personal power, your unconditionality, your ability to manifest, your remembrance that you are a multidimensional being. All of it gets animated at the same time. And so what I found is that people try to eat better, and then they'll try to exercise, and then they'll try meditation, then they'll try some yoga, then they'll try some breath work, then they'll try to, other forms of exercise or personal development practices. But they rarely put the right combination of them together at the same time, enhancing the things that are most appropriate for them in their development at any given phase in their life. And this system teaches them how to know what's the smartest thing for me to be doing now?
According to their unique pattern.
According to
and not hit and miss.
Yes.
They're not hitting and missing. I'm trying this for a while, just for a while.
And then actually, get frustrated.
Yeah, having some level of consistency with that which is working.
Right. There's a systematic way of approaching it. The genius is right here. It's right here. It's right here. It's in you, as you. And if you're not feeling too ingenious or innovative or able to self-heal or to generate a life that you love living, there's a reason. And it's perfectly explainable. And we just have to unpack the illusion that it's never going to be any different. And it's not just a theory. It's a way of being these energies and putting them together, animating them, allowing them to be the you that's, finally living your life instead of holding them as separate from you, hoping for them, to show up one day, because that's why we don't find it, because we are what we're looking for.
I can sit and listen to you forever. It's just beautiful.
I feel the same way about you.
Yeah. Now, what's next for Sue? What's on the horizon? What do you feel is what's bubbling up?
Wow. Yeah. I have additional healing modalities that are birthing through me. There's a real desire to bring forth also as an additional project this harmonizing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and allowing love to matter more in our culture. And
that is the time we're living in right now.
That's why
you're right. You're right on it. Yeah.
People are so used to living in their heads, and it's time for us to evolve past that. And that's why the mind is going crazy right now for so many people, and we're so polarized, and the challenges are what they appear to be. It's because this thing is birthing that I'm talking about, and this central channel breath is a way of animating this true self that's birthing up through us, and the birthing of this true self is wreaking havoc on the mind.
That's my next question. I wanted you to give me your insight into what. And when we look at the polarization, we look at the anxiety, the anxiousness, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the rising of hate. There's all manner of things going on in the world of phenomena. What would you say about that? What's really happening underneath all of that?
I think that it is a wonderful thing that is happening.
Yeah.
I would just love for enough conscious people to be able to ground themselves in their body so that they can weather the storm. For those that are cluelessly, projecting that angst and anger that's been shoved inside of them that's coming out right now, as it's flying about. I want to create a conscious, community, or continue to create our enhance our conscious community that can hold the space for riding the storm out.
Right.
Because I feel that what's happening is the soulful self is rising.
Absolutely.
And the personality is, its days are numbered in being in charge. And so the ego is, threatened, and it's just cracking apart and it's flailing about. And what I love to do is to just enhance the one who's rising.
Yes.
Instead of, getting caught up in that which is falling away, but to really be able to stand as that true soulful self that is here for the very thing that we're experiencing right now through these polarities and the projections of hate and so forth. I mean, it's an all-time high. We're seeing more of this than we've ever seen in our lifetime. And
and as we were saying earlier before we were taping here, is that life always wins. The highest frequency does win.
Yeah.
And so by supporting that highest frequency rather than putting down the seeming negative or that which is being dissolved in front of our face, we're having more impact on the world.
Yeah.
Something wonderful is happening.
Yes.
And something wonderful is trying to happen.
Yeah.
And we need to give it permission, we need to give it availability, we need to give it receptivity. And all that you are describing here in terms of this kind of work is allowing that which is trying to happen as us.
Yeah.
To say yes to it.
Yes,
So
to become identified as what is birthing, rather than identified as the thing that's cracking away.
Right.
That's a scary place to be in.
Yeah.
To be identified as the mind that's cracking away and having to redefine itself. And so the encouragement in all of my work is to teach people how to be that which is birthing. And it's your authenticity. It's the parts of you that you've suppressed. It's the parts of you that in your innocence you thought you had to tuck it away in order to make it or to fit in or to belong or to be respected. And what the world needs is the rest of you, to come and bring that, for you to bring the rest of you forward and allow your wholeness to express in this world. That is what is required for this harmonizing of humanity that is so desperately, it's not desperate, but it is very poignantly time.
It's intense.
It's obvious.
It's a birth pain.
Intense.
So we're simultaneously midwifing ourself.
We are
with the
midwife.
midwife, and we are that which we are midwifing.
Yes.
It's a simultaneous vibration that's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
We are the creation. We are the creator, and we are creating.
Right.
We are, the birther, the birthed, and the birthing process. And that's what humanity has to get. That's how big and powerful we are. And the challenges that are in our world right now are simply, I feel, a byproduct of us having argued for our smallness for so long that we believe it. That we're trying to hold on to something that was never meant to be a stationary version of us. It's an evolution. There's a movement that's happening, and we need to identify as that which is on the move instead of that which is trying to keep it from changing and have things be the way they were. It's never going to be the way it was, and it's not supposed to be the way that it was because it's supposed to be better than it was.
We're not going back to the good old days. We're moving into an unfoldment of an idea that is perfect, and it's unfolding, and it's infinite. We're embracing the next stage of our own unfoldment, not going backwards.
Right.
But there are people on the planet that actually think they want to go back to something that will never happen again.
It can't. It can't happen, and it shouldn't happen.
No.
And what it means is, if those good old days had been real, they could not have been threatened.
Right.
They could not.
They'd still be here.
They couldn't have been cracked open. They couldn't have been dissolved. And so it looked good because we were suppressing some stuff, and above, all the parts of us that had our head above water were having a lovely time.
Right.
But never mind all this stuff that's boiling underneath.
The oppression and the fear and the doubt and the worry and the hate.
It's like, yes, I love you. This is waiting to come out, and it's like, well, that's what's coming out now.
Yeah.
Because it's time. And we want to develop a responsible stewardship about that process so that we can let it come up and out incrementally and in a wisdom-based way so that it can contribute to the power of a new good, the power of a new version of light and life that is meant to be, that is eternal, that is unwavering, that is unquestionable. Because there is only love that is real. That is the only thing.
That's
and until we honor that in a greater way and embody that in a deeper way, we will always be up against some kind of dualistic conflict.
Absolutely. Now you have a meditation that people can tune into.
We do.
Yeah. What is that?
We do. We have several.
Okay.
But we have a Awaken This Healer Within. It is awakening the true version of you that we're speaking about here, and allowing yourself to not be seated as the mind, witnessing this beautiful thing to come up and out, but to actually drop in and identify as that which is rising, and give yourself permission for that to continue and to birth and to truly prosper. So the mind magnifies whatever we put it on, and so the invitation inside of this practice in this meditation is to bring the mind onto the soulful self and manage to become that soulful self as soon as you can. And that's the invitation that is gifted throughout the meditation, to allow someone to transition. It's like a quantum flip where I'm not identified as the mind that has a soul, but identified as a soul that has a mind.
Yeah.
And
so how do they get it?
Okay, so it's drsuemorter.com, drsuemorter.com, and there's an easy way for you to access it, and then have access to other, complimentary programs, some community service things that we do that will allow you to kind of dive into some of these things that we're sharing today.
This has been great. And also pick up the energy codes. You're going to love reading it, but you're going to love even more doing the practices that she's been describing so poignantly here with me today. And thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
always.
being here.
Many more times, I
It's
hope.
always sweet. Oh, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, let me say this. This was part 1. She will be back for part 2 at the Agape International Spiritual Center, of which is one of the sponsors of Take Back Your Mind. You'll see her on my stage soon as well. So tune in. Have a bright and magnificent day. Thank you, Doctor, for being with me.
My pleasure. My joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless you all. This is our moment of meditation, and it's inspired by the conversation with Dr. Sue Morter and something that we've both been teaching for years, and that is integration and embodiment. That is, as she mentioned, the first time that she spoke at Agape was many years ago, and the theme that I had chosen was descended mastership. Not being ascended master, but being a descended master, which is embodying the realm of ever-expanding good and bringing it here, body and earth. As she said, earth heaven. Not just bringing heaven to earth, but allowing earth to be heaven, because we're here. I would like you to close the outer eye, become comfortable in your body, that is, feet on the ground, hands facing downward on your lap, as a sign of bringing love, peace, joy, wisdom, transformational knowledge, creative intelligence to earth. Not just rising up to it, but bringing it here. As you're sitting here, imagine that there is a beam of light emanating from the bottom of your feet. And this cord of light is extending all the way to the center of the earth. Use your imaginal realm to see this. And as you are allowing your feet to extend all the way through this beam of light to the center of the earth, allow for yourself to breathe, pulling the power of the earth up through the cord of light, up through your feet, your legs, through the entire body temple, up through the spinal cord, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat, third eye, crown chakra, all the way to the top. You're actually bringing every bit of wisdom, transformational knowledge, creative intelligence that's ever been embodied by any earthling you have access to. It's all in the newest sphere of the planet. Any insight that has ever happened through Buddha, through Jesus, through Zoroaster, through Kuan Yin, through anyone on the planet, Walter Russell, Ernest Holmes, George Washington Carver, Howard Thurman, Mother Teresa, any insight that's in the mental atmosphere of the planet, you have access to. Your earth is at the center. Your feet are at the center of the earth through the cord of light. You're taking a breath, breathe it in from the central of the earth up through the body. You have access to all of this wisdom and knowledge. Now, at the center of your being, the heart space, that light is expanding in all directions and expanding up through the top of the head, reminding you have access to all transformational knowledge, creative intelligence, love, straight from the source. Breathe through your heart. And this energy is cascading from the center of your being everywhere. So at this moment, you simultaneously are giving yourself permission to be in tune with all wisdom, transformational knowledge, creative intelligence that's ever been embodied on earth. And you're simultaneously giving yourself permission to be aware of the transformational knowledge, creative intelligence, the love and the truth directly from the source of all creation. And you are bringing it to earth through your body now. Feel this. Breathe this. Say yes to this. Allow your light to so shine before those that see you, that when they see you, they see what is sending you. Life itself. And so it is. Amen. Slowly open your eyes. Give yourself permission to have a beautiful day. Peace be with you. As always, presently, we have 2 sponsors to Take Back Your Mind podcast. One is Adaptozen. The sponsor is Neutralize. Adaptozen is an aspect of Neutralize. We have superfood greens, and we have the vitamin D3, K2. The immune system is very important, and the energy circuits of your body are very important to be able to carry more cosmic energy. So you want to have your spiritual practice that keeps you in homeostasis, not acidic, but your pH balance is wonderful. And then you want to have right supplementation to assist in that process. Go to Neutralize.com, tap on Adaptozen, and get your bundle. The other sponsor is always the Agape International Spiritual Center, now going into its 37th year. Go to agapelive.com. There you'll find a plethora of ways to tap into the community. You can tap into it every Sunday for our Way of Meditation service. Our second service of the day is at 8:30 a.m. for meditation, 9 o'clock a.m. for the Worship Celebration Fellowship service. The third service, of course, is 11 a.m. meditation, 11:30 fellowship service. Go to the website, agapelive.com. There are daily meditations, daily prayer times. So much is happening in this community. Those are our 2 sponsors that we give thanks for. Have a bright day. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.